This week's episode of PJ and Dak's Real Football Podcast is brought to you by Mystery Shirts UK. Mystery Shirts are an online platform that provide you with random football strips from across the globe. We search high and wide to give you as much choice as possible, from Atalanta to Shakhtar Donetsk and everything in between. Tell us your size, which clubs to avoid, and we'll do the rest. Whether you're after a gift for a football fan, fancy a new shirt for five-a-side, or maybe just want to add to your own collection. Whatever it is, Mystery Shirts have you covered. Boxes are available at www.mysteryshirts.co.uk. That's www.mysteryshirts.co.uk. Why not order yours today?
Alright everybody, welcome to episode 20 of the podcast. Absolutely delighted to have a Conference C special. We're joined by Adam Hopes, the Drumchapel United manager, Mark Daly, the Wishaw manager, and Chris Cameron, the co-manager at Neilston. Lads, appreciate you coming on to speak to us.
Brilliant, boys. Get your jacket off, Hoppy, man. Get yourself comfy, mate.
I'm brand new.
Brand new tappies. Oh, it's their cons after we're brand new. Well, I've spoken to you obviously beforehand. This is something that me and Dak feel quite strong about. Doing episodes like this, we did it with Division 4 where it was good for clubs to get their people watching to get to know the Division 4 clubs because they're all new, obviously. At this way, it's something that, again, like we're really kind of right into doing, and we want everybody to get to know these guys because you know what it's like when people are watching, sometimes focus on their own leagues, don't really know too much about the leagues about them and stuff like that, or if there's anybody new watching, it's great to get to know the guys. So
it's a very good league, I know.
And very tight league. Probably the tightest league out of all the conferences, I'd say.
And it's three good clubs, so it'll be a good episode. Looking forward to it, boys.
Well, how quiet I
know, man.
All quiet now. Look, I'd say to you, we're just going to go through, tell us how you got the manager's job at your clubs, and just tell us about your club and that kind of, even things about like, because we all know what it's like, what the committees do, what kind of kit men do and all that, you know what I mean? Just these extra things that are done at the club, so hope you'll start with yourself.
Our story's quite straightforward. Obviously, we were an amateur team. I used to run Postle YM and struggled for a year. Obviously, I've known John Black for years. John Black and me's been speaking about amalgamated, became Drumchapel United PYM. And we've always had the ambition to just try and be the best that we can be, whether it was amateur in the pyramid, which we are now. West of Scotland were taking applications. Our secretary, William Chisholm's like that. Would you think, Copey? I said, let's do it. John agreed, and here we are in the pyramid now, as Drumchapel United.
How's it been for you? Because obviously last year was kind of no-go really. It was obviously quite difficult for you, because you are in the conference and that, but it's similar to the teams in Division 4 in a sense, even though you're at a better level. It's kind of how have you felt coming in to the leagues last year, kind of being a bit different?
Well, something that I've only been a manager for, well, this will be my fourth year I think, but one of them you can kind of rule out with COVID, and I always used to like playing junior teams. So like when I had the YM, used to play Greenock sometimes, I know Tommy and that. Then obviously when we went into Drum PYM, we done the same, played junior teams just to test ourselves, obviously to see. But you know, at amateur you're thinking everybody's obviously going to raise their game playing a junior team, but when it turned up, we were struggling for numbers, and you're like, oh no, we're going to end up. But we used to look after ourselves on that. And then I think last season was brilliant for us, I thought, because we got to learn a lot. We got to learn a lot about our oppositions, the places we're going to play, the way football's played at this level, and obviously it was the juniors, now it's the West of Scotland. So I think our position, as we speak, goes a long way, considering we've learnt a lot over a short space of time.
You've got good quality, but you've went out and you've had good players at amateur, but you've went out and got good names for boys for junior football and also even senior football and all, so it's always going to help your club and your squad. Doesn't matter what level, they're good players, aren't they? They're always going to...
definitely, and see that, but that comes down to, like, I'm not going to take full credit for myself, right, because we're all in it as a big group, right, but see the more phone numbers you've got on your phone, and the more people you know, it's like anything in life, like with me and my work. The reason I'm busy all the time is because I know so many people. Football, I'm always about people. See, no matter, see if I was just to meet you yesterday, I'd be asking what you do football-wise. Who do you play with? You know what I mean? What's your history? Who do you used to play with? And see if I'd be like, come on in. So
never asked me to go.
To be fair, this is something as well, because we've all been there in terms of coaching and management. You become a pure master manipulator.
Oh, pervert with football.
So what is it you do? Like, I don't really care about that. Do you play football? No, I know what it's like. Obviously, you've got kind of decent resources to bring in players and stuff. But how is it for you in terms of committee? We've spoken about it before we came on air. How is it for you in terms of committee and the size? Because you get a lot of established clubs have the kind of almost legacy type guys who've been there forever, who know inside out and know their jobs. Whereas St Peter's, half the time I don't know what I'm doing, even though I've been involved at this level for most of the time. So what's it like for you with your committee?
It is tough. I mean, there's obviously, when me, John and Chizzy found out, I know George Fraser for BSC because I had a short spell up there, and I kind of spoke to George quite a lot about helping us as a club, like what can we do with the application and all that, blah blah blah, and he set us in the right direction. So obviously when we kind of found out we were going to be in it, we had to reach out a wee bit. So William King, who you've met a couple of times, and Rab Stevenson became part of our board. We've obviously went and bought the pub, and for there we've obviously brought in Daz and Willie as players. Now they're coaches. Craig McPherson, who's Archie's brother, plays with Clydebank, his brother. And see, the players, us, I need to give them massive credit because they've came to us and we've not really known, like, we know what standards we want to bring to the club, right, but it's not just as easy as that, which we spoke about. So we don't have a kit man. We're fortunate enough we've got a very good physio, Fiona Brown, who plays the game well. I know you were talking about physios hit you with invoices and all that, right? We've been fortunate enough that's not happened to us, but
yeah, I thought we were flinging us under the bus, man.
Lads, what's saying off camera? Stays off camera.
It's alright, I've still got to speak.
Oh, Chris, Ashfield, Neilston Wishaw, all looking for physios.
But see, in regards to what you're saying, it's tough. Let's see, try to get that. Obviously, I told you about the wee dig that you handed out to me on Saturday about having infrastructure in place. You can't fault us for trying. Just like you're saying you don't even know what you're doing, but you've been involved. It's just, you just need to try and do your best and keep plodding away. See, if I hear the word kit, I'm like that man. You know what I mean? I'm just
it's so hard. It's so hard to get bodies in, man. I think sometimes, and that's we committee and that. We've been trying for a long time as well to try and get more people in to help us in the background, no on the football side, but out waiting, it's hard, man.
See the thing is, I find like you're talking about kit man and we were talking about physios beforehand. It's like everybody is trying to get them. There's no like there's this infinite number of kit men out there. Everybody, there's like nearly 70 teams at our level, all trying to get a good kit man. You're like, there's no millions of kit men out there.
Hope he's saying again about infrastructure, right? Just a quick one. We're playing St Cadoc's, and one of their coaches comes out to us after the game and he's like, oh, I think you'll be a couple of water bottles short there as if he took our water bottles. And I was like, oh, here's a perfect opportunity. I goes, all that money you've got and you're taking 2 Ashfield water bottles, and I'm telling you boy get whiplash, man, and we all started laughing. Southie came in, we were all laughing. I goes, that wasn't very hard to get that bite off you, man. I thought the boy was going to bite my head off me, honestly, unbelievable.
It's too funny, man.
It's difficult, obviously, particularly yourselves being new, but you've kind of been in at Wishaw now for, you've all kind of suffered for COVID, because you went in quite late on as well.
November 19.
November 19. You know what I mean? You had a few months, and then obviously COVID's hit and everything's went the way it's went. But
it was brilliant for me. Stopped me getting relegated.
Tell us a wee bit about how you got the job and you'd like to say about the club.
Well, I was ex-player, so I played there and ex-coach under Chris McGroty. So then me and Chris and Glenn went to Kilsyth. So after going to Kilsyth, we left. I came back to play at Falthouse under Big JC, and then the job came up. It came up for Big Kieran McGuinness had left. So got a phone call asking if interested. Went for an interview, got the job. So it was one of the ones that kind of fell in it, kind of stuff, just because ex-player kind of fell in it. So I came out the blue. I wasn't overly looking. I'm still playing. So, but I think when the opportunity came up.
How was it? So obviously when you were there as a player and a coach, Chris and Glenn took the team, and now they're in with you. How's that transition been for you being the coach, Chris being a gaffer, to Chris now being a coach and you being a gaffer?
Well, Chris isn't there anymore.
Is he left?
No, Chris is like, so he kind of came in at the start. So when I got the job, I phoned him. He's like, well, I'll come in and give you a hand, and then we'll see. So him and Clement, and it was just kind of roles reversed. So it was all right. Listen, the three of us, it was a trio. That's really what it was. It wasn't down to Chris was obviously the manager, but the three made decisions, and that was the way I kind of took it as well. So Chris was brilliant for me. So was Glenn, absolutely brilliant. I probably couldn't have done it without them. And now I've got Dunny in, David Dunn. So he's just outstanding. Anybody that knows Dunny will probably speak highly of him, how good he is. So he's probably more important at the club than I am. I'll be truthful. He's just phenomenal. His contacts is phenomenal. His training's phenomenal. Going for Chris to Dunny hasn't been too much different, to be honest. So.
You always need to surround yourself, don't you, in the game, man, with people you can trust and good people at that. Do you know what I mean? So it's always, see when you've got somebody like that. I hope Maxie would say the same about myself, but I don't know about that.
There's not going to be many people like that in contacts booking you, man. We were talking about it before. We were at that open goal on Sunday, and me and Dak are standing and talking, and I don't even think I got to talk to him. Everybody walked by. All right, Dak, all right. I'm like, I'm here and all, lads. You know what I mean? I'm here too. But how's things for you in terms of the committee? Because I remember years ago playing against Wishaw and the move to Beltane and stuff, and it was kind of, my impression at the time was Wishaw had quite a hard time. What's it like for you as now being you're established at Beltane now? What's your committee and stuff like?
I think there's 6.
Is Alex still there?
Alex still there, Alex. So there's about 6, I think 7 maybe. I push. Mark's one of the younger guys, the rest are all kind of older guys, and some of them work, some of them don't, that kind of stuff. So they all kind of try and make it work as best they can. Honestly, it's like anywhere else. Hope it's maybe a slightly bit different being new into it, but probably like every junior club we've all been at. It's all older guys that give up. They give up their own time, and it's difficult. It's difficult for them because they've got lives outside of football as well. So and they're not getting paid. So the incentive is just purely for the love of the club and stuff like that. So. Going for Wishaw back, it was like Bill Cogour and Robert that kept it going. Robert's still there, Bill's left now, he's at Shots, but Robert does everything as best they can, and Alec does a lot, Wilson, they all do it, they all chip in. There's your kitmen.
These people are unsung heroes, man, honestly.
Listen,
they give up so much of time for nothing and all, never want the thanks, never want anything to do with money or nothing like that, they just do it for your pure love of the club, man, they're invaluable people like that.
So I call it proper junior men, isn't it? Just
big time. Big time.
Clubs would die with them, to be honest. Me and Dad are quite big on this, is where we do talk about committees and that a lot, because people that go and watch the games, they don't realise how much time and effort these guys put in. I mean, I'm in a chat about with the committee, and it's like always looking for a new angle to try and get us something else. We need to do this and we need to do that. And when you're a player, you're ignorant to it. You're like, why have we not got this? Why have we not got that? You're like,
exactly.
We have to go and get that for you.
Exactly.
It's not just there. But it's one of the ones. It's the nature of the beast, because when you've all been players and now managers, you realise that when you're a player, you moan about certain things and you're only concerned with yourself. And then once you're a manager, you have to think about everything all the time, and it affects you much more.
But the good thing is, see, if you've got a good committee, sometimes you're less you need to worry about as a manager, because you know everything else is taken care of. See, sometimes with the weird committees and all that, you're running about and you're not just thinking about the football, you're thinking about all the other bits and bobs.
It definitely makes a difference. Chris, what about yourself? How did you end up getting into Neilston, you and Carson? How did that come about?
I played with Neilston over 2 spells, over 6 years, successful spells. Derek had played with Neilston at the same time, and so did Disco, who's our coach. The 3 years have been pals since we were 17, 18 with St Peter's boys. With the wee conveyor belt, I got up to Neilston, and it was probably Neilston's most successful time. We were a Premier League club at that time, doing well. And we all left and went our separate ways in football. And I was coaching at Renfrew. The Neilston job came up initially when Marty Campbell and that got the job. Spoke to a couple of guys about it, but I was new to the coaching thing at Renfrew, and I was just dipping my toes in there, so I thought, nah, it's not the right time. And then when Marty and that were leaving, it was kind of known maybe a month before they were going to move on. And Marty had actually brought Derek Carson, who had played with the Borough, up as a number 4. Did a bit of training in that. And Derek had said to us, I think this job maybe be coming back up. And he knew I was interested in maybe going out myself. And the plan was I'd be the manager, Derek would be the assistant or coach or that. So we didn't know how it was going to work, but we were going to go for it anyway. So I was pretty confident that we would get it. And spoke to a few of the lads I'd played previously 3 years before that, so there was still 6 or 7 of the boys in Marty's team. So if I was going to go back up as a gaffer, you were got to be managing ex-teammates and stuff. So didn't know a few of the other boys, which was fine. And I spoke to Derek and I said, listen, pretty busy with work and that, how would you fancy going in it together? And as soon as I asked, I could tell he was chatting a bit. Do you know what I mean? So it worked for both of us, to be honest. Disco, he's got his coaching badges and that, and wanted to do the coaching side. So
how do you find the co-managing, Chris?
We've spoken about
We've
quite a
spoke
lot.
about it, I think it can work. I think it does work and it can work.
I worked with Clarkey and Martin Ferry at Renfrew as co-managers first I'd seen, and I know a few people have done it before. And for the most part, I think it worked. And then, down the years a wee bit, probably it became more Clarkey. Martin was doing a lot more coaching and stuff, and clashed. And I spoke to Clarkey about it when we were going to go on date, and he says, just always talk to each other, be open, and one voice in the dressing room. One guy's got to be responsible for making final decisions and that, and that's the way we done it with me and Derek. And
that's what I was going to say. You kind of work it like somebody will speak before the game, not one person, and then an app. Like, the other one is aye.
It's probably good cop, bad cop as well, because I'm a wee bit more hot-headed than Derek. He's quite.
Need that, but
see, you're the assistant though. It's like
I know.
Similar.
I've spoken about this before, and I don't know, do you know Drew Russell?
Aye, big Drew, he's a good
Drew was my assistant at Bridgewater when we were against shoes at Poso and stuff. And there'd be times where Drew would pick the team. I'd be like, I can't do it today. I'm torn between 2 or 3 players. I bet you have to do it, and he'd be like, right, no worries. And like, you know what it's like now, you're in as Maxie's assistant. You have to trust your assistant completely. Because with Big Drew, I trusted him without a shadow of doubt. If Drew was telling me something, I knew Drew was saying that for my benefit. There was never anything no. So you're right, you've got to...
See if you got a guy next to you that says aye all the time, everything you say.
It's not
It's
good.
just not good.
I know.
Even before I went into that, as what Chris are saying, it's like Maxie was always like, it's an open forum, but the final decision is always with him, know what I mean? So it's like, take on your opinions and all
If you
that.
drop somebody, then they can blame Carson for it. I was picking you, but it was him that dropped you.
No, see, to be honest, we're pretty much like that as well. We're a free, and even Scotty Coxon, our goalie coach, we make decisions together, and then if you've got to make them, then you've got to make other ones.
Half the time when it's like-minded people, your decisions aren't probably far off the same, and your beliefs aren't far off the same anyway, innit? Because you use no co-managers for people there, basically.
Chris, see when you use that, are you all for everybody to have their opinion? Let's see when you come to pick a team and stuff like that, like do you speak about it at training and kind of agree it collectively?
Aye,
that's what we like, I know. Like,
aye, absolutely.
I would say I'm the bad cop. I'd say JB and Willie the good, and Dad. Everybody's a good cop apart from me. I'm obviously I'm the monster. But see that how you were saying about you don't want somebody who always agrees with you. Well, me and JB, I can count one hand how many times we've disagreed, and like, the whole time we've been together, right? But see, me and Willie are always in the same hymn sheet. But see, Daz will say, he'll tell you the other side of the coin. Know what I mean? Daz will see if I say something, Daz will be like,
to be honest with you, if Daz told me something, I would do it because he would batter for me.
No, do you know what? No, he's brilliant, by the way.
I'll tell you what, the one time I played against Daz at Clyde Bank, I remember marking him at a corner at home park. So obviously he had a reputation. I was quite young at the time. I was maybe only about 20. So I'm kind of shoulder to shoulder, and he bangs into us. So I'm like, I'm not shouting out this, even though I was. So I banged into him back, and he grabbed me under the arm and gave me the biggest bruise I've had in my life. It was about that size, just by pinching me. I was like, what are you doing, man? He's like that, just stared at me. I was like, don't worry about it.
Nah, he's no, obviously that's the reputation he said, but he's no, him and Willie have been brilliant for our club. Craig as well. Craig's ended up having to be the goalie coach now because our man, I'll not drop names on the show, right? But he's been slaughtered. You know what I mean? So you can tell him if he watches this who we're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about, mate.
What's the... Because I know Neilston a wee bit, like my brother Brian, he was at Neilston. That was his, I think that was his first ever junior club.
Played with me, mate.
Do you play with you in
Played with me, I won the double together. Brian was there.
So Brian had just been released for St Mirren at the time, so he was probably about 19. No, he just left East Stirling. And me and my dad used to go in, so that was kind of my first proper experience of junior football in the shed. The Shed
Shed Crew, aye.
They were
Aye.
class, man. I remember going down to Beith to watch, and they were just slaughtering. I don't know if it was Del McCulloch at the time, it was playing for Beith, slaughtered life of them. But how's it set up at Neilston? Because I've been out a few times and like wee Tiny was there and stuff, so I would occasionally go and watch him and that, so I know a wee bit about their setups. Like.
We don't have great investment. We're not a club with a lot of money or anything like that, but very much a community club. A lot of people for the village give the club as much as they can. We were talking about committees earlier. It's all local people. Unfortunately, over the last couple of years, we've lost a couple of the older ones, and other boys that used to be in the Shed Crew have stepped in to help on the committee, and their gripe is they don't get to watch as many of the games now because you're doing everything else. But no, our committee are really good, and the selling point to our club is we make it as professional as we can, even though we can't give out the money as some other clubs. As professional as you can. We've got a cracking set up in terms of the park and stuff like that, and whatever the boys need, the committee will give them, do you know what I mean? And it's like as you say, when you do get boys moaning about, oh, we'll not get this, we'll not get that, but you just need to remind them now and again that these are guys getting up their own time, and do you know what I mean? And
Park's good, man. I like playing up
it's
Neilston, man.
Belter.
Aye,
Really
used
good
to-
park.
used to like
I
playing up
just like that it's quite, obviously you've got the side when you walk in's a bit more open, but it's quite tight, and I quite like it.
Aye,
It's
aye,
always
aye.
having the wall right behind it
Yep.
and that, and then just to stand there. It's always good playing out of the park, wasn't it? It's good when I played there, to be fair. It's got a lot better.
no,
than
it used to be. It was brilliant when I was first up there, and then for a few years it. I don't really know what happened, but this year they brought in a company that's looking after it, and it's magic, really good. You know.
See,
Makes
thing
some
is-
difference, but in that,
See
man,
if you can
makes-
offer that to the boys. I mean, like I played at the Ants and we had nothing.
The Ants is still immaculate. We
Aye.
played that 2 weeks in a row, and it was still as good
That's the
against St Cadoc's as it was in the
We
Ants
had
game the week
absolutely
before.
nothing at the Ants. Like, I mean, they wouldn't mind me saying it because they kind of, everybody knows the Ants don't have money. Like, you're struggling
Been
to get
listening to
boys
Cotter too much.
Oh, I know, man. Oh, my.
That's all Cotter used to say to
My
you.
gaffer, but see, the
Ah,
thing is,
fuck.
I know, I do.
Like, we didn't that's Stacks, mate.
Oh man, I love everybody in football, but James and Cotter, he pushes my buttons, man.
I was
He
talking
pushes my buttons.
to Cotter recently, and he actually mentioned
He
it.
knows, he comes for me all the time.
But he was laughing when he was saying it.
Do you know,
to
see
so-
my boys got the boys
Ah,
at that
see
show
that.
going for him, but I didn't agree with it, right? I didn't agree with it, but
I mean, I pushed them.
we played them in the Scottish and they were all sending them, bombarding them with pictures of them in their night out and easy
he
the
not
Ants.
Blackpool or something?
Yeah, he was at Blackpool.
Blackpool,
Easy the Ants and that, and I'm
Some
sure,
man,
like, oh, I'm
Darren McGuire was saying he was getting it stinking off him.
Aye.
And he's messaged him privately on Twitter like that, by the way, it's just a bit of banter. Darren's like, I wasn't even at the game today. He's like, why was it? I'm in Blackpool.
I don't agree with it, and I was saying
Nah,
that to
no,
my boys and all, but at the same time, I was sitting, I was chuckling away.
Cotter will take that in good spirit.
Aye, see as much as me, I've always got on well with Cotter and stuff, and he was my manager. Cotter dishes out enough, so he's just got to take it back.
I
But
go
see-
well with my all, but
but
he knows how to push my buttons, that's all.
That's the thing, though. It's like we didn't even have matching training kit at the Ants and stuff. Like some boys had nothing, but that park was a big draw. You knew that. Well, for me, I was like big flat surface. I like to run. That suited my game. I was like, that's why I went there. And you know, it's like see if you can offer that to boys. It makes a big difference.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
a huge thing because if you don't have the money, you've got to be able to offer them certain things. But moving on. Spud, how have you felt the season's gone for you? 'Cause obviously you've had that crank start and stuff, but how do you feel it's been overall so far?
Up and down, really. It's been up and down. I keep saying to myself, would I took this at the start of the season? Absolutely. Where we're sitting is very decent for what we've got. So, but I'm disappointed with that kind of 4-week period where we collapsed. Really,
Aye,
I'm
we
not
was
going to
going
lie.
off there for a
That's we went for conceding. I think it was something like 4 goals or 6 goals in 6 games to concede at 15 and 4.
Aye.
And it was, Hope's team was one of them. I think we played 4 games and we were drawing 3 of them at half time and ended up 4-0. Well, you were 1 up against us, weren't you? Aye, you were 1 up against us. So that was the only one we were down. 4-0, 4-1, 5-0, 5-1 for the Rocks. So it was, I don't know what was happening. It was just kind of capitulation for the second half. So that period is disappointing because we could have been sitting so much better, but we were sitting. I can't grumble. I think it's pretty decent. And to be honest, I always like to look at the table and say, right, the teams that we've played. The only one I think we've not played is Vale Clyde, which we play Saturday. Everybody we've played, I would say the table's probably sitting fair. I think the drummer had a brilliant team. Chris's Neilston, that was the one I hadn't seen Hobie's team, to be fair. I thought they were excellent. I've always been a big fan of Neilston. And The Rock, who beat us twice, so, and obviously Andy's in there for Paul now, so just want to say hope Paul gets back.
I've said that a few times on the show and that.
Andy and Paul are taking it, so, and John, and they're, I mean, the Rock of the Rock, very, very stuffy team, so I think Andy would say that's the first time he's won at Wishaw, actually, so I think he owes me a beer for that anyway. But no, listen mate, I'm delighted. I'm delighted for where we were sitting. When I took over, I'd say we were getting relegated, that's pretty much where we were going, so if we can get in that top 4 or 5, then I'll be chuffed.
See, to be honest, see when you look at, I've got a league table in front of us, you look at the top 7, 8 teams, before it, I think we did our prediction, and I think we're sitting quite close to now to what it is, but you're looking at yourself, all 3 of your teams, The Rock, Perthshire, Kilsyth, you know what I mean, it's all good teams in there. I'd say you've probably got the most even league at the top in terms of like some of the other leagues have got 2 and 3 teams are just running away with it almost. You've got probably the tightest league in terms of.
I always said when the conferences were drawn, I think, and I don't think that very many people would actually disagree that was probably the strongest conference on paper. I don't know what it's like when you play with teams, but I thought it was one of the strongest.
Before it, like there's nobody taking a doing in our league, and I don't mean that disrespectful, but there's teams taking proper doing, and nobody's taking that, and to say.
We gave a down to the ants for Dak.
Thanks, Hope, mate.
7-1.
What a drum!
Getting on, by the way.
Oh, you just go in, man. When this goes out,
Chris's on Cotter's side though, here that the ants beat him.
Cotter's in back.
Probably been the biggest score then, I would say. I think that's probably been the biggest.
Was it 7 or 8, was it?
7.
No, to be honest, I know exactly what you're saying. There's not been many downs in our league, probably apart from the drum that are free scoring. Do you know what I mean? But nobody else you're really seeing like 4s and 5s and stuff like that. It's the majority of our victories have been 1-goal victories. You know what I mean? We've not found any game where you've been comfortable.
You've been excellent defensively this year. You've only conceded 10 goals, and at our level, to concede less than what you play is impressive.
Aye, definitely.
I went to the game you played The Rock, second game of the season. Not after football, they were strong defensively. Goalie and
what you doing?
Back 4
No.
It's Carson who's doing it.
Well, Carson and Disco were defenders, I wasn't, so I can't take any credit for that. But I don't. We have got good experience at the back, and the boys have been really good. To be fair to them, and you see, we've lost 10. 2 were calamitous on Saturday, and we've had a few other ones against the Ants and stuff like that. So, the boys have been good. Do you know what I mean? It's at the other end of the park that we've been toiling.
You've scored 19. You've actually scored. There's only 4 teams that have scored less goals than you.
Which is really surprising.
To be right up there challenging.
We brought in 3 boys out the Premier League in the summer that I thought would hit the ground running and roll with it. Aye, brought in Jonesy, we've got Jamie Dock there, Kieran Brophy, Connor Bulger out wide, and Duggan Fletcher. But plenty of goals in the team for one reason or another. It's just no clicked, you know what I mean? And you've just struggled down the line every week.
Best thing is if you keep the back door shut, then you can always be
you're always in it.
Don't lose goals.
How good was it if you managed to keep forward, but?
Well, that was. We lost 2 players for the wee mini league we played last year with Stephen Dock in the middle of the park, who I knew we would miss him, but I didn't think we'd miss him as much as we missed him. And we thought he's just a different level altogether. That's
I rate him so highly.
For me,
he's brilliant, man.
He's the best finisher at our level of football, bar none. And I played with him at a spell with Neilston when he was a young boy, and then working with him last year, he's better than I even thought he was. He's top draw.
He's the Neilston, isn't he? Yes.
He's a Neilston boy,
local boy.
Is that Paul, is it now?
Yeah, he's always Paul.
He scored the first
on
Saturday. That was, to be fair, that was a very rare clanger for Big Leishman.
I know. See the save for the penalty, but he's tipped that penalty, McGregor's penalty, onto the post, the second one. That's some save, mate.
Massive boy.
What penalty?
The first penalty,
what kept was that?
I know it's slightly gone off.
That's a bit dated, but when this
I know, obviously, because this is 2 weeks and more, so I don't even know what day that'll be. Probably don't know, 20th or something. But that was like, we spoke about that. That's something without getting yourselves into bother here, right? How do you feel the level of refereeing is?
Aye, we've no spoke about it. I've got my opinion. That'll probably let
so
know.
I can kind of give mine a bit more frank, to be fair, than you probably could. But try and be honest as you can without getting into bother. No, get into bother. Go for it.
See when I got older as a player, right? I used to moan like, fuck it, refs, right? And then see when you're done, you're like, what was the point of even saying it? Like, genuinely, there's no point, because see what, if they make a decision, that's it, right? Whether you agree or no. So see as I got older, I just shut my mouth, right? Getting closer to past the halfway mark, the boys are like, man, you don't fucking shut up, Pope. And I don't mean it, because see at the start, I was fine. But I never said that, but I'm finding myself starting to hang me. But do you know what it is? It's stupidity. See some of the decisions are just stupid things that I think, why do you even waste your time blowing your whistle for that? Know what I mean? I'm thinking just let it go and see what it materialises, and then see if it is you really want to blow the whistle, just do it and explain I was trying to let it go. But that's the only thing that I don't know. I don't think there's any banter with many of the refs.
I've found that, I don't know if it's because like we're all older now and I'm older, so I don't know if it's because the referees are younger than we are and that now. But I feel like when I was playing, I don't know why, I don't even know the guy's name, I always remember an Australian referee, don't know if any of you remember him, and I always thought he was excellent. He only did the lower levels at the juniors, and he always spoke to you, and see if you gave him a bit of stick, he would take it, but see later on he'd give you a bit of stick and you're like fair enough, because I've slaughtered you and I'll take it myself, you know what I mean? But I feel like a lot of them are very regimented, and there's no... We had one on Saturday, and I actually was wondering if the rules had changed. Their right mid's went down the line, crossed it in, and our left back, his horn's down here, it's hit him in the arm, but he's kind of turned his face away. He's gave a free kick, it was a free kick, but he booked him, and I was like, right, okay, I'm wondering if the ball hits you, then it's just a year now. And but like 10 minutes later, their centre-half came out the ball, got hit, and he put his arm up like that, just to kind of shield himself, hit his horn, gave the free kick, and he booked him, and I'm like,
what?
I'm like, what's the... neither of them have meant it, but they're both fouls. But
you could do a full show talking about every single decision that these refs are making, because personally, you can't talk to them. You watch your telly and all that, right? And you see how players talk to refs, and I'm not saying it's right, but there's been times where you've not really opened your mouth much to a referee, and they're coming there. I get booked at the weekend, and I just shouted at the boy was offside, and bad.
The guy apparently shouted after a supporter.
I know that's insane.
Right. There's no
the boy that was injured in the goal mouth.
The guy told him to get up or something, and he shouted back.
He's getting heavy dogs abuse with somebody at the side of the park, and I think he was being quite rude, and there was a woman present, and he's told him to fuck up or something, the guy at the side of the park, and the ref just came in.
I mean, everybody gets sent off in at their level, because you've all done it, replied to
there's no much banter with him, and that's what I think is.
There's no talking to him. That's how I just zip it, man, because
it's hard, but
I think most would say the standard's poor. I think most would say that, but you've got to take into, and I'm not sticking up for them because anybody knows I hate refs anyway. But
glad you're honest.
No, there's very few. Like, I just think I do appreciate they're on their Todd at our level, so it's hard. And our game will be a prime example of that. I think the young boy, he collapsed, didn't he?
See for me, sorry to interrupt, but see for me, like, I did a bit of refereeing, so I've got a bit more of an appreciation for it. But I was very much, I let boys swear at me and stuff, see, unless they were directly calling me a name, I let them swear at me because I'm like, I did it my whole career. But my thing is, see if a referee makes a mistake, look how many mistakes players make individually. Referees are just the same, they're human, they're not cheating you, they're making mistakes. But it's the inconsistencies that get you. Like, kind of talking about the one ball one for us, but that was just me digressing on you, going out with yours.
No, I was just, like, these guys are on the top, and I appreciate it, you could probably get consumed by it. There's 22 guys plus everybody having a go, so you've got to have a bit about yourself. But you've got to have that as a player as well. But these guys are picking up more money than any player in your team.
They're getting about 60 quid a game, and let's be honest, man, they're performing the worst on the park than everybody there.
And I'm saying to them after, like, maybe you want to be a bit hard round about it, but my job's in line here. And you're walking away, you don't give a fuck. You don't really care.
Have you had any big decisions that could change a game go against you? Any used to?
We absolutely have, aye. Spud will tell you. First league game of the season.
I knew this was coming up with you.
First league game of the season, we score for a corner. But to be fair, their goalkeeper, he's crashed his head off he's burst his head open off the goal post. He's done in. To be fair, the two physios were saying, don't move the lad and all that. So as you can imagine, all the players start congregating around the ref thinking, what's got to happen here, what's got in the refs? Telling us, it's fine, you'll be alright, game will get restarted, we've got to phone an ambulance, blah blah blah. Telling Spud and that, I can only get a certain amount of time, so don't think Spud had a sub-goalie on the bench either.
I definitely didn't know.
To be fair, you could imagine how it went. We wanted the game to continue. They wanted it probably not to continue. But to be fair, it was all about the boy, making sure he was alright. And the wee ref just got that flustered that he was just telling boys, I need to go to my work, I've not got time to keep this going. And I actually felt sorry for him when I thought about it, because the boy just crumbled. He was a young lad.
Have you, Spud?
A great one it went for us at the start of the season. No, well, we'll get a guy...
See at the drum, I've not had any big decisions that would change a game. I don't think we've had any.
I had one, obviously, against the Rocks, the boy gets off for 30 seconds. But a few, I never really seen it well enough, but the boys, some of our boys had said it was a kind of coming together. But I mean, that's a big decision so early on. But ultimately, if the boys got it right, then you've got to say fair play. It doesn't matter if it's...
How was he for the rest of the game? Was he card happy?
No, the boy, actually, honestly...
I always think when a ref books somebody very early, I felt that in their game against St Cadoc's. The referee booked a boy very early on, and then it just seemed every tackle, it wasn't even a dirty game, right into the book, pulling cards out, and I was like, you've just started that early. Southie's doing his dinger, Max, he's fucking...
After the game, I was saying to him, like, what did you see? And he's like, listen, they're coming together. He's tripped him up. I mean, that's a bit harsh. And he's like, it probably is, but I feel it's a foul. So if it's a foul, and he said, and that was it. And I thought, well, at least you gave your explanation. That's fine. You've got to accept it.
That's the only thing that annoys me about refs. See when they don't explain. See when they've made a mistake, but they won't admit they've made a mistake. That gets under my skin.
See the best one on Saturday, right? Don't want to keep talking about refs, because it's not about the refs, it's about the conference, right? But see the one on Saturday, like when we were playing, he's booked me, right? And I was like talking to him after the game. I said, Ref, I'm just telling you, if the last goal, they're turning around themselves, boys 3 or 4 yards offside. And he's like, I'm myself. I said, I know. And he kept going, listen, Maxie. He kept calling me Maxie. I was like, I said to him, I said to him, I'm no Maxie. And he's like, sorry, Maxwell. No. That's like, I'm done with this.
See, just to finish, in fairness though, see now we're under the SFA, the punishment for the players and the clubs is so much bigger.
See on that's something because I mentioned it on one of the recent roundups that we did, that we'd heard a rumour that potentially some of the smaller clubs were looking to go back junior. Again, don't know if it's true at all, it's pure speculation, it's just what we'd heard. What is the difference in terms of the fines? Because even on the committee, I don't know. I can't remember what it was before.
I don't know monetary terms, but it's a lot more. Our committee did sit us down and spoke to us about it. It is a lot more, and the suspensions are higher as well.
We've had a boy in front of the JPP already, and he got 6 games.
Aye.
So, and it goes to the compliance officer. It's the same process.
It seems to be a lot more for a lot less, if you know what I mean.
Because don't get me wrong, I always thought when I stopped playing junior and I went amateur, the suspensions in amateur are much heavier than what the juniors were. Like, it's funny, I had a wee bit of banter with him on TikTok, remember Alan Shields, Lark Hall coach. So me and Shields had played at Cowan together, and I remember Shields had got sent off for headbutting somebody, got 3 games, first game back punched somebody and only got 3 games. And they're like, see at amateur football, if you'd headed somebody,
you were for a year.
You were 15 games.
Neilston was heavy, wasn't it? Like, you could punch somebody and get fuck all.
It was proper. I remember getting sent off before we moved on. I remember getting sent off at amateur. I ran into a boy and I've kind of shot it a wee bit, and I put my arm up to stop him from banging into me, and I did catch him kind of high with my elbow, and the ref sent me off, and I was like, I've no many. He's like, I know you haven't, says, but don't worry, I'll mark it down lower for you. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, because if I put that as an elbow to the face, you're getting 6 games. I was like, I banged into the boy, but it is what it is. It's just, I was just curious on that. Back onto this. Well, how do you think your season? Obviously, the season's gone very well, but have you been happy with how things have been going for you?
I'm delighted. I can't fault MD. if you were to say to me at the start of the season, where would you be halfway through your games? That's 14 we've played now, isn't it?
12 and 2 either.
I would have took the hand off you, so I can't complain.
So you've got a lot of firepower. You've got a good defensive record, only second behind Neilston, but you've scored considerably more than everybody else. You've actually scored, like, for yourselves, like, obviously you're saying the issue is scoring goals. You've scored 19, you've scored 47. That's maybe that kind of wee difference in level. You know what I mean? It just shows that's how you're top of the league.
Aye, well, I tell them, and we all drill it into them, that we want to be ruthless, we want to go and attack teams. You're not going to win a game of football sitting back. The only way is outscore your opponent, and that's what we've made clear to them. And the goals have came from everywhere. We've got a good ratio across the board for the midfielders. All the strikers are chipping in, there's defenders chipping in. I've moved a boy who's a natural right back, stroke left back, playing in the front three, scored 5 goals in 3 games.
Who's that?
Sean Bowers. Played he played against Jews. I was his second game up
Need
there.
to keep an eye on him, Spud.
You'll not miss him anyhow. You'll not miss Big Sean.
That's something I thought, obviously we did the behind the scenes thing with St Peters and the drum, and you deserve to win the game, there's absolutely no disputing that. We spoke about it after, like, we felt a wee bit hard done to the fact there was 4 goals in it, but that was the difference where for our boys we missed a couple of good chances and you didn't. See, when you get the chance, bang, goal, and you just cut through us. And I think that's the difference. Obviously, you've got me down Fletcher, we've scored a lot of goals for you. There's not so many this season, but you're talking about bringing boys down for a higher level who you think would score more goals. That is a massive difference. As good as it is defensively, if you've got boys that can pull you a hole at a big time, then it's huge to you. You know what I mean? Defensively, you've been pretty solid as well, though. You've been good at the back. What's your... Obviously, you've got the aim to win the league, and that, right? But what would you say you're hoping to do for the rest of the season?
Just try and get 3 points. Like, I can't make it any clearer, and the boys will tell you, like, we've had tough games and won. Maybe not played very well, but we've still won. And see, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you win 5-1, 2-1, 1-0, 6-5, you're still getting the same reward at the end of it, and that's the incentive of us, is just to win. And the boys are getting that, but like, seeing Saturday, I was really happy because the park turned into an absolute swamp. See the second half, like the mud's flying out of people's seats and all that when they're running, and we still played and we moved the ball at a good intensity and created a lot of chances, and we fully deserved to win. And that answered a big question for me, because a lot of people talking about us now, because obviously we've been playing at the Donald Dewar and AstroTurf. How's the drum going to be going and playing in grass? That's a big hoodoo that's been over us since we joined the West of Scotland. But after seeing them on Saturday in a mud pit,
well, actually that
can't be
brings me on something I was going to talk about later, but talking about now. He's going to be ground sharing with Maryhill, which is a park I know very well for having been there for 3 years. Maryhill, I don't know how much work they've done to it recently, but Maryhill cuts up something terrible, and from my experience, and obviously having 2 teams playing on it, so every week there's basically a game on it. What was the thinking behind moving away from Donald Dewar and going to Lochburn?
Well, it's interesting. I don't like saying stuff like this, man, in front of people, but
like
the
camera.
But no, not into trouble, right? But I just believe within myself, right? See, if we were getting beat most weeks and we weren't up at the top end of the table, I think you'd probably find we still beat the Donald Dewar, right? That's just my honest opinion. Now, I have to obviously thank the West of Scotland League, because they've been nothing but good to us, right? And they knew that we had a 2-year plan in place, right? But obviously, Guy Bosch with COVID, we've not been able to get the contract signed to actually take over the Donald Dewar, which I'm led to believe happened a couple of days ago, which is massive for us. But we couldn't take the gamble and play the remainder of the games when there was teams complaining about us put the changing facilities. We're never changing facilities. People get changed in a gazebo. They all leaving have came to plays, and the guy that's meant to put the gazebo up's no turned up. Right now, I'm not saying that's acceptable, right? But seeing a midweek game, if you're turning up, just play the game. Like, see all the boys for Vale leaving. I used to play with them, right? All the boys are like that. There's a big like, shutter thing where all the equipment's kept. I was like, look, you'll just need to go in there. And they're hanging about humming and hawing. The players are like, right, we just want to go. And they're like, to me, Adam, this isn't good enough. And I'm like, well, what the fuck do you want me to do? But I'm not in charge.
Why can they not use your facility? I don't get
because
it.
It's a vaccine centre. It's a vaccine centre. Aye, so that's
because it was the same with Carluke kind of had the same problem, and we played them, it was a 8:15 kick-off and we weren't allowed, we had to all, and it was the same for Carluke, so it was just as bad for them. They had to get changed down the hill outside and we weren't allowed to go into the park till 8:05, and we just walked in for 10 minutes and the game started. It was poor, but I was just wondering why they...
It's no ideal preparation, right? And it's no very professional, and I'm all for that, but what people need to remember is we've went through a world pandemic that no one could have predicted that this was going to happen. Do we think we'd be in the position we are now, having to ground share Mary Hill? Because see, initially, last season we were meant to join up at Lockburn Park, but the league are like that, look, there's no spectators allowed, there's no changing rooms allowed, there's no showers allowed, so see if you want to play at your facility, batter in, and we're like, well obviously we do. So we played the shit season at Donald Dewar, and now obviously we've got to the halfway mark. People have stuck us into the league, right? Because the league have now contacted us saying, how you's getting on with ground improvements, blah de blah. And
what is the plans for
the Dewar?
The Dewar, aye.
What
stands and all that?
Everything.
Aye.
Everything you can think of.
So tell us a wee bit about it then so that people know, because it's not something that we know about.
So obviously the Drumchapel United is our club, but that's another reason how we get into the pyramid, because we've got a good structure. There's over 500 kids and women and all that kind of stuff playing. There's walking football, there's everything. It's all ran out of Donald Dewar, right? So the long-term plan is to get the ownership of the Donald Dewar, right? We own the gym, we own the parks, we own everything that goes on and about the place, and I think that's only a matter of time before it happens. So what I'm led to believe is the contract has been signed for the outside part of the Donald Dewar. So now, see the netting that you need to put round the fence, like see Caledonian Braves set up down above, we can go ahead and do that now. See the dugouts, we can put them in. See the spectator barrier, we can put them in. Now see they're three things that are just waiting to get done. Like we could obviously know tomorrow, right, but see within like 4 weeks, all the funding and everything's there for that. Like from like sponsors, the community and everything, because obviously we've got the pub and the whole community of Drumchapel have bought right into it. And
what's your attendances like at games?
We only had one gate at the Donald Dewar. One gate we had, and I think there was about 60 or 70 people there.
It's not too bad.
But that was against East Kilbride, I think. Was
so
it?
They wouldn't have broke many.
No, it was Villa Clyde, sorry.
Again, wouldn't have
and
broke
then
many.
Most of them throwing the hill behind, didn't they?
Aye. And then, but then you've got the Glasgow Live saying to you that we can't hold a gate, right? So I've went to B&Q, right, in the morning of the game, and I bought rope. Right, I bought high-vis rope out of B&Q in the drum, right? And the Saturday morning team were playing, but they're all brand new, we all know each other and that, right? So I've made a wee walkway as you walk in, right, with the desk there for the money. Spectators that way, players that way, right? I've done all this myself, mate, right? And a Saturday morning, I put the rope between two floodlights at one side and at the other side, so that's where the spectators could stand. So it was fine. No, we've done a job. I've seen worse in the juniors early years, know what I mean? And the next week, somebody in the staff's told the boss, Drumchapel United are taking money off people to watch football games. I'm like, right, and what about it? We're in a senior club now, we're in the pyramid. What else we met? Just, come on in. And that was another thing that we had to just get out of there. We had to.
Glasgow Life must know that if, like, say, Peter's Hill. Peter's Hill's at Glasgow Life.
But then, but that facility was built for Peter's Hill in partnership with Glasgow Life, right? But then, now that's Thistle Trust, Peter's Hill, so...
Is Glasgow Life a separate entity? Is that like a...
That's just your council.
That's just your
Is that council, is it?
Council.
So, listen, we've not been helped in it.
It's difficult because, like, we at St Peter's, we tried to get Seat Hill. So we tried to get Seat Hill, the full facility. We tried to get basically the council to use that, and we just couldn't go anywhere because it's got like the 7 pitches, the 5 pitches, and it's got the grass at the back. What we were going to do, because some like ourselves, we've got like 500 odd kids at the club. We were just going to basically say to them, look, we will take this and we will fill it every single night. All our full club will train here and play here. But it is what it is. But how have you felt your season's been going so far?
Firstly, we kind of touched on it earlier when you were talking about the levels of the conferences. I was pretty gutted when I seen your conference, to be honest, because for me the 3 teams,
So was that.
the 3 new teams, the one we wanted to avoid would have been the Drum. St Cardocks were in my league last year, we beat them and wasn't too fussed about that, but initially the drum were the annuals, it was St Cadoc's, and then it kind of get moved about, so a bit gutted about that. And then the way the league's finished, they done that kind of snake system. Petersall were away down here somewhere, but Lockheed went in. You know they were going to go again, St Roch's were going to go again, Kilsyth were going to be a good team. So looking at the conferences, I probably picked 2 teams out the other 2 that were going to win the league, and ours I thought 5 or 6.
Aye.
And our big thing in the season was we had to finish in the top 4 or it's relegation for us, being in the championship.
Aye.
And we've not had that fact, we need to finish in the top 4s.
It's going to be tough, isn't it?
It is, it's tough, a couple of...
It is a tough league, man. There's no...
See, to be honest, looking at it, I mean, yous are sitting with 36, the Rock have got 32, yous have got 28 with a game in hand, so potentially 31. But then you've got Petershill, Wishaw, Perthshire, 24, 23, 22, and even at that, Kilsyth have got a couple of games in hand on teams, sitting with 19 points, and they're starting to build a bit of momentum.
It's
Getting aye, exactly. They're starting to get to where people expect them to be, and like you said, Petershill are starting to go a bit again as well. That's really... Like you look at Arthurlie and Shorts, that's confidence, is that 8?
Aye.
You look at the 2 of them have got that sealed, it's just whoever wants to win that league.
Yours is a bit tighter, your one's a bit...
Gart Cairns right back in.
Aye, exactly. A couple of players have been brought into Gart Cairn team that have really kicked
That's always been the
Everybody's had a wee purple patch in that apart from Drumchapel.
Aye,
Some of the ones that haven't had really...
use a bit consistent.
Aye, well that's what you always touch on, like, see when we get beat, the boys just bounce back. So
that's a tough one, I think, if you can put a 6-7 on the bounce together. It gives you a good chance in it if you put that kind of
I
run
think
together.
our frustration's been, as you said, that if somebody had offered us that at the start, the way it's went, you'd probably think, you'll be in the mix. Obviously the drum have kicked on, but our frustration is we'll beat if they're on about us generally. But
It's the other games that
have hurt us, you know what I mean? And I think the defeat against the Ants when we lost a goal in 30 seconds,
that kill you.
our goalie gets sent off after a minute.
I was at that game.
Everything just went to pot. We were terrible on the night. I think it rocked some boys' confidence a wee bit. Just weren't expecting it. We were getting into games expecting to win all the time.
See, to be fair, you've got to say, like, because we've spoken about you having that wee hard patch where...
He was harsh on you, wasn't he, Spud man, a wee bit? I think so.
Oh, he wasn't.
Wishaw going through that bad. I had your back, Spud, know what I mean?
But we're still former teammates now, I mean, I want them to do well. Aye.
I didn't even know that.
Aye, we were, aye.
Where?
Bells Hill.
Was it?
Aye. Actually, a picture came up on Facebook not that long ago.
Did 3 arguments, didn't we?
Aye, I just a couple,
Like
but
that,
I can't
that's
help that.
Fuck's
But
sake.
because I was at Thorneywood, obviously your old team,
Aye.
and you'd scored against them, mind.
scored,
I always remember it because we did black strips on. And it was in
that's
evening
right.
times.
That's right,
Me and you and Gary Miller celebrating.
Aye.
But I've lost my train of thought there. Like, cheers.
No, Wishaw.
Wishaw. You have had that hard spell, right? You're starting to pick up again a wee bit. But I've touched on the likes of Arthurlie and Shorts, who, don't get me wrong, are really good side. But they don't have that. You spoke earlier about teams losing by 7 and 8 goals. You don't really have that in your league because, like, you have lost to the Rock and Neilston, and as neutrals, it's been good in a sense because it's kept it tighter. For you, obviously, you know what to lose. It's good for you to beat them in that. But it's no out with the realms of possibility to use to lose to Neilston and the Rock again, lose to Wishaw, lose to Petershill, because there's so many teams at a similar level. See if Arthurlie or Shorts again to go into them. See if they lose 2 or 3 games to teams, you're like.
No, that's what the boys were saying about Yoker, wasn't it? Yoker were sitting at the bottom and that, and then
they're
they've just...
They're starting to pick up.
East Kilbride went
I
and
don't
beat
think.
Kilsyth.
I know.
See the league, I don't think it'll be decided on what happens round about the tap end playing each other.
Aye.
I think it's
No,
about
you're
the
right.
games.
Games against the Ants where the Ants will take points off.
Aye, see playing teams like Vale, even Vale or Clyde. They're the games I think that see sometimes if you turn up and you think that maybe they've been beat 3-1 the week before, you turn up and you think 3 points in the bag. Next minute, 8 minutes ago and you're 2-0 down, you're thinking what the fuck's just happened here? Because that can happen.
There's
Like
no gimme.
see against the Vale,
Absolutely no
even
gimme.
Vale or Clyde, we only beat the 2 of them 2-1
I know.
at the Donald Dewar, both of their games.
It's
In between Pumpmans 4-0.
I think that was our frustration, having seen the Ants results before we played them. We played them and they beat us, and then I think you was going to beat them 7 or 8-1 the
That's
week
right,
after at
that's-
Petershill, and you're thinking,
We struggled against Ants and all.
see
So,
that with the Ants were. I think they lost the first 4 or 5, and then they had that 3 or 4 games
Aye.
there where they beat yous.
Yeah.
They were kind of giving teams really tough games.
Yep.
And then there were a couple of hard ones. But I suppose that's what happens with with teams at that
But it's
level.
not even them. It's like you look at the league. It's just littered with tough places to go. Like the Shire away is a toughie.
Aye.
Even Kilsyth sitting in 7th, you're sitting going.
They should
They're
be.
probably a team with tipped to being attacked at the
That'll
start.
Kilsyth had a terrible start.
Really bad.
We
And then
played
all
them
of
in
a
the second
sudden-
game of the season.
All of a sudden they're 7th and they're,
Aye,
I
they've
mean, they'll
been-
fancy it's
They've
got
been
more
doing
points than
it's kind of where, like, because obviously what would be, realistically, what would have been your expectation at the start of the season if somebody said to you, right, if you have to be completely honest, where do you think you will be this season?
It was hard to say because you've obviously got your ambitions and the team that you've put together and where you want to be, and we've got that as a club. But I keep getting back to we were getting relegated as it was finishing. So the way the West would have finished out for us, we would have been in the bottom section if that's the way it went.
Aye.
So if we come out as a central first team, which will be
Aye, third
the
tier
third
kind of
tier,
thing.
then we've stayed as is.
Aye.
If we hire, then it's a bonus
It's
for
a
us.
bonus,
It's a bonus
Because
for
that's
us.
the thing, like, the reason I'm asking is, because you look at Kilsyth, I think on our prediction show at the start of the season, I think it might be myself, I was like, I think Kilsyth will be top 3 or 4, because they'd obviously had the good season last year, really good side, they've, by all accounts, got a wee bit of money, so boys get decent money, they've got good players there, and you're like, you
Great
expect
surface
that.
and all, by the way.
Ah,
From a great
excellent
surface.
down there. But they had, like you said, the bad start, you said the good start. So you could afford your wee spell that wasn't great. You are sitting 5th. Now, without it being disrespectful, I don't think many people would have said in that league, oh, Wishaw will be 5th in the league, you know what I mean? But because of how the season before had been.
And they're the Rock for me. I didn't
didn't
think the Rock would have been up there. And
I
that's
didn't think
my
so
and I've got affiliation there with my playing time and all that there, but I didn't think, especially the start, they had a bad start.
Aye, I know.
Because they drew and
They had a
then usually
horrendous
beat
start.
them. Chris down there usually beat them.
Terrible start.
I think they drew with Villa Clyde, beat off Neilston, then I think they might have even dropped points in the third game, but then they've just went on this.
See if you look through the
This
spine
one.
of their team, but they've got Barry Russell, Kieran Daw and Jamie Longworth.
Aye.
Know what I
Jamie
mean?
Longworth's immense.
Aye.
actually.
Aye, but that's 3 guys that go nearly every level.
I know.
Yeah.
So see when you've got that spine playing every single week, that's what you build it
That's
around.
experience as well, isn't it?
And there you go, Dawes scored a penalty in the last 4 minutes or something at the weekend against Dubrossen.
Well, that's something we've spoken about with
They were
Cam
getting beat
Bislan.
twice, I think, with the no.
Aye,
I
don't
don't
know,
know,
but it
it's
might be.
just-
See, we spoke about that with Cam Bislan. For me, on paper, you're looking at that. You've got Tony Stevenson 33, Anson 32, 33. You're like, guys are getting a bit older. But at the same time, they're good players who have a lot of experience right through the spine of the team. And that's where I think that some teams
It's all
lack.
good having young players and good young players at that, but you also need the
Guys
old
that know.
kids and men in there to try and help them through it. Because we've got quite a young team, and sometimes you need the older
do, like,
experience just to
100%.
get them out of the line at times.
That's the one thing I've brought in this year. See, last season,
Aye.
I never had like many. Like I've got Bob Campbell now, who's played senior, junior, everything, knows it inside out, and he's been an 8 out of 10 every week for us. Martin Grehan played every level under the sun.
He is
Not just,
unbelievable at this
just
level.
he looks after himself and that. Knows we Kenny Marshall's played through all the leagues and stuff like that. These guys know exactly what's required at
And
this
you've got
level.
even like
This is what I don't think. This is the thing about the league.
Easy,
but-
Ryan D's
Aye.
successful.
Hey, I know you're name dropping all the boys. If they are, much you give name for getting a
Me
name in
Spud
the
will have a
spot.
separate combo there.
You know when you get Daisy to try and make some dinner, he's stays near here.
There is a
Do you know
difference,
he's
there is a
a good
difference,
goalkeeper?
like say Daisy last year at
He's fair there,
Kilsyth,
I see him at the Morrisons at
and then
Kilsyth
obviously he goes to
something.
Drum.
Aye.
And
Something like that.
speaking to the boys at Kilsyth, Livy, that he's like, that's a player that wins your league. That's the difference.
Who's that? Sorry,
Yeah.
Spud.
He's
Daisy,
like,
aye.
that-
He's
they
one of
had him-
Max's
they had him last
favourite
year.
players for
It's
his
like,
playing.
Yeah, he's
space.
scary.
But
He's been
Daisy's
in and out, but
34 now, or he'll be 34 this year, because me and Daisy played boys club football together at Dundalk when he was under 10s. He's a year older than me,
Aye.
so he'll be 33 or 34.
I thought he was 33.
See,
He'll
just
be
on.
34 this year then, because he's a
Right,
year
okay.
older than me.
See
But
on what you were saying about the leagues. That's the thing about what you were saying, Chris, because you were saying top 4. Need to get in the top 4. It's a step down. It's a bit of pressure this season for all clubs. You've one bad season and it could literally put teams like, say, Kilsyth for talking sake, finish lower down that league. It could set them back a couple of divisions.
Aye, I know. They were championship, weren't
He's
they?
talking, it stopped.
Aye.
Okay, Central first.
Aye.
Aye, yeah.
Is it? It's fourth.
The championship.
Fourth's the championship,
the
isn't it?
championship.
Aye,
Second,
because
third,
the
and
top
fourth.
one goes up,
Yeah.
down to 4th. It's
See, the
fifth, down to 5th.
It could
Is
be
it a
fifth,
fifth?
it could be
Aye,
fifth,
could be
depending on who
depending
goes
on how
up.
it goes, but
Oh, is it?
could be
Aye,
down
could
to
be
5th, go into the championship, and then it's like the next
59 for 10 for
59,
something.
See that championship next year?
Oh,
cut
fun.
through
The Premiership, see the championship, that'll be a...
I tell you
That'll be a
what,
good
see,
one,
to be
aye.
honest, see even the first division, you'd be looking at, because see if we're talking to you at the moment, you could end up with the likes of Kilsyth, Petershill, yourselves, and that's only in your league. And you could be in the next league, you could end up with a Gartcairn or something.
An Ashfield.
An Ashfield, yeah.
It'll probably be the first time, even through all our time in juniors over the last 10-15 years, that all the leagues will be really equal.
Oh, aye.
'Cause there's always teams getting scudded here, left, right and centre, but
Again,
this will probably be the first
see,
time
that's
next year
what-
that everything's quite... Every game will be a close game.
Well, that's what I was going to finish on. What your thoughts are for next season in terms of, obviously nobody knows where these are going, but I've spoken about it a lot as well on the roundup, where you look at your Royal Alberts, your Saltcoats, your Irvine Vicks, Luger. Irvine Vicks and Luger played at the weekend 4-3, might have been a cracking
It'd be
game.
brilliant to watch.
Exactly.
The highlights were brilliant.
I've not seen them yet, but
They're
you're like,
excellent.
that's... See, next season, their teams, without it being disrespectful to them, are getting leathered at most weeks, right? But see when you've got 8 or 9 of them getting into the same league, and you have a team who were lucky to win 3 or 4 games the season before, pushing for a title, it makes it so much better, and it's their level. You know what I mean? It's
Swings in circles, but we've all been in the game long enough.
aye.
The teams were up there when I
Aye.
first joined, and now they're doing
Aye, look,
the
Ashfield were a top
Mary
division.
Hill,
and they
Johnson,
played.
Borough, they were all top level teams, and now they're all kind of
Sort of conveyor belt,
Ah,
isn't
just
it?
it runs, and all it takes is a manager to come in, brings his own players,
That's
gets
it.
a team, then they go and they kick on.
Yeah,
And
I've been part of 2 clubs that have I've been part of them as I've went down the way. With Mary Hill just got relegated for the Premier League when I went to them when I was 19 or something like that, and then they get relegated at the Super First, then they get relegated at the Central First, then you'd go winning. I was there when they get relegated for the Premier League.
I was alright, I was always Bolton division with the
Oh,
Rocks, so
mate.
we couldn't get relegated.
The thing is, you teams like you get the Bends, Johnson Borough, all top teams at one point, and then they've just plummeted, and it does, it kind of
it's the
balances.
same with Thornwood. I was at Thornwood. We were a dog and duck in second division. We went to the Central First. We went to the
Championship.
Super First, and then we missed out in goal difference to Ashfield.
Aye.
Mary Hill, sorry, I think it was under wee Kev. Missed out in goal difference, and then kind of hung a bit there. So it all swings and roundabouts.
Aye, clubs have their
1-2
wee
years,
spells in it. Start maintaining it's a hard thing.
Chris is
man.
right. Everybody will find their level now. They will.
It'll be really
next year will
difficult
be
next
really
year
good.
in
Next year
every
will be
league.
excellent.
And by the way, your bottom
horrendous,
division
man.
could be brilliant.
I know.
Could be really, really
You
good.
see that is in terms of quality, it might not be at the same level, but see that you could be looking at same as your league now, possibly like 6 or 7 teams can go and win that league, and it'll be brilliant. 'Cause we spoke before about our Division 4, where it's hard to pick a coup in our league because nobody's really found their feet yet, and everybody's just beating each other. No, like, there's only 8 teams in the league, and the top 4 are all beating each other. So it's like, actually I don't think we've beaten any of them. No, we beat Finale, but you're like, you kind of find your level. We're lucky that we've got a good strength at the top of our league, and yous are the same. But you're going to get to that stage, you're completely right, where it'll just be 7 and 8 teams could go and win a league in the next couple of years.
Aye. I don't think you shouldn't do it, but we probably all do it. You look at games
Oh,
6,
aye,
7, 8
aye.
weeks down the line and think that should be 3 points and we'll win that one and that. Don't think you've got to be able to do that
No,
in the leagues
definitely
next year,
not.
do you know what I mean?
That has been, this year's really hard for certain teams, where not so much again your league, because the bottom 3 are near 100 miles away from anybody else, but in the other 2, the bottom 2 or 3 are just, they can't touch anybody above them really, and it will be better once it goes.
I think you'll see a lot of character for teams now. Let's see all the teams down the bottom, let's say the bottom 4, how are they going to start to react now? Know what I mean? See, going into the second half of the season, are they going to stay there, or are they going to try and push to get further on?
I think that's
Know
the
what I mean?
difference in all, because usually at this stage of the season the teams that are in the bottom 6, boys leave, boys go elsewhere
Aye.
because you're not playing for nothing. But
Aye.
every game you're playing
Aye.
for something, because
Aye,
you
aye,
know.
aye,
can
definitely.
literally jump a league with a win.
I
I
was
was,
a
I was a big advocate for, see when it first got formed, everybody being together and having the leagues with
Should
the
have
Premier.
happened.
That would have been a nightmare though. You looking now, you imagine Auchinleck playing the kind
I
of...
know, but
Aye,
That's
aye,
all
aye,
that
aye.
is.
Somewhere
Aye,
up
with
there.
the top league and all.
see that,
That'd have been
but
horrible.
aye, it would
That'd
have
have
been
been horrible.
horrible. But I just think, like, see that whole thing. Obviously, people say this, people say that, right? But I think these done it, didn't they? These done it, and they just separated everything equal into 3 conferences, wasn't it? 4 for each league or
I
something.
think it would
like
have
that.
been the right thing to do.
It would have
Put
been,
everybody
because see
in a
what's
hat and do it, but
selfish, what I think
there's been
selfish.
some right
It
slow
was a
games to
carver.
watch.
Aye.
Oh, it was, listen, I'm not going to name clubs and all the rest of it, right? Because everybody knows what the story is, but see for example, an Auckland like Talbot going to play Perthshire, for example, right? You try to tell me they're not going to go and follow their team for a day out in Glasgow. They'll see the money that would have generated for a team like the Shire, especially with a pandemic that was occurring at the time. I just think it was a bit snaky.
Was the whole purpose, but am I the right impression, the whole purpose it wasn't done was because the SFA could only do the discipline for one league?
Oh, I'm not sure.
I don't even know.
I
I
mean,
everybody knows the story. I thought it was.
I thought it said that the SFA could only facilitate the discipline for one league, so that's what the Premier had to get into.
Right.
And they were all facilitated under the SFA.
I always wondered why Bonnet didn't get into the Premier, and it's kind of been shown in terms of levels that they've been the poorest team. They've only won one game, and somehow it was against Pollock, because Pollock have been excellent this season. But I was told because they were the south of Scotland,
That's
they were
right.
already
That's right, so they just get put into it. Aye, that's right.
South of Scotland.
I had this conversation with the committee on a club, and it was more a kind of how it would go. But I said, could we apply for the South of Scotland League, win it, then get the Lone League, if you're in the playoff, and then if you fall back down, just say I'll get into the Premiership. Now I know that's out by the by, but could you do that for a year? Could you apply to go to the South of Scotland League?
I don't know.
Because you would win that.
That's something.
You would win
Something
that.
I thought about. No, I've never mentioned it.
You get in at the right time, because even when the other new clubs came in, at least you just get a chance.
Bit of travelling for the first year, but
Take it. But see, that makes a good point there. You've picked the right year. You, St Cadoc's and Glasgow Uni, picked the right year. We're a year later. Well, we spoke about this in Division 4, and purely for selfish reasons, I want it to be different. But we've been told we can't go up until we've got our own park. We're ground sharing with Renfrew. St Cadoc's are ground sharing with the Ants, and you're like, Renfrew is spot on. You know what I mean?
Brilliant.
Like we should, in my opinion, not today the club, just my opinion, should be able to go up next year.
But why have you got to prove? Broomhill share with Alloa.
I know.
Not anywhere near with that.
The Drumchapel
And they're in the Lone League.
Maryhill. But that's the thing.
Cameron share with St Andrews.
You just came in at the right time, you know what I mean? And it's for us, we've kind of. I don't know whether they've said he's kind of go up to your own ground. I don't know if that was just a first year. We just need to make sure if they can survive and see if he's are able to get through.
That might change. You never know.
I think it probably should. Where we should go into the Bolton division and all that next year and just kind of fight it away.
If the Bolton division decided, then what difference if you go into the Bolton? Because that's where you would start anyway.
I know.
Right, so who can go up for your league then? Because
Only Hart Hill.
Hart Hill,
Campbelltown.
Campbelltown, and speaking to Keith Gibson, basically Harmony Road don't have a massive amount left today, so they'll probably be able to go up.
Ah, right, okay. So
So
do you think?
I don't think any of them will
So you
go
look-
up. They
no,
might
but
go
look
up
at
to
the
See if you
for
win the
that.
league. See if you win the league for not finish second, and you finish. Harmony will finish third. Well,
You look at Campbelltown could potentially finish bottom and go up.
How?
because
Because
they've
they
got
meet the
the park.
criteria.
If nobody else meets the criteria.
Aye, but do you need to put somebody? I just thought if the team won the league and they met the criteria, they just would say, right, nobody's going up that
My
season, so I'll stay in that
understanding
level.
is
Do
if
they
you
have
meet
to
the
put some?
criteria, you can go up next year.
Is Cosaif meet the?
No.
No.
So
As
how
far as
does-
I'm aware,
how
there's-
does
So-
County-
so,
how would
obviously-
they be 8th and go up then?
Because they meet the criteria, they can go into like,
Aye,
so
they-
potentially I'm not 100% sure. I was in the meeting, but I nearly fell asleep in the meeting.
Nonsense, man.
But you're looking at
Put them up there.
potentially 3 teams being able to go up, and Harmony Road a bit different because they're top 4 side, or third now. But 3 teams could go up, and 2 of them will be 6th and 7th,
Hart Hill,
and Campbelltown possibly.
Campbelltown.
So what is the plan to have Division 4 as a separate entity?
It's like
No.
a conference. It's like a
Aye,
conference,
it's
isn't it? It's like
conference.
down south.
I genuinely think
But
that.
it'll filter into the bottom side of the...
I genuinely think they will all be.
League
I think
Two.
they'll all be put in eventually because the West were straight up front with everybody at start, so it's not even a thing about the league. I just think that maybe they were hedging their bets to make sure they could survive. But that's just my thought. But
Get back in Conference C, man.
that's us just about done anyway. So what's next season? Just to kind of cap it off. You're obviously hoping to finish as high as possible and stuff. See, no mean it to be any pressure on you, but what your committee's expecting fees this year?
See, before you the answer, bet you all their own fucking standards that they'll put more pressure on themselves.
Aye,
the boys,
no, you're
not?
right. It is. Our committee want that 4, and we want we expect that 4 to be quite honest. So that's where we need to be. In terms of, we did put it to the committee before. There's teams in the league with more investment than we've got, but like I says, we can sell the club to boys and otherwise, and with the squad we've got, we should be finishing top 4. So that's where we are.
No, I never got in for the committee. I've been honest. Nothing. I must admit they backed us. What we asked for, they've gave us. So I can't complain that way. But we've got our own ambitions. Well, keeping them kind of self, but that's where we've got a rough idea where we want to be. And if we get there, it's happy days. If we don't, then as I say, we will always kind of be better off than where we're going to be. So, but I believe we've built a good enough squad to compete and be there.
Well, I speak for Livdy because we're obviously on it together, and there's only one goal for us. I think it's pretty obvious. He won it.
It's fair enough.
Love it, mucking about.
That's fair. No, that's fair enough. Lads, going to finish up well. Genuinely appreciate you giving your time. I know a couple of you had training tonight, so we've probably done you a favour and got you out of training.
Done the boys a favour.
But no, really appreciate you taking the time to come and see us tonight, and we wish you all the best.
Conference C, belter.
Probably the most competitive league out of 5. So best of luck.
Hopefully when the winter games maybe and a couple of games get called off, we can get into one of the boys' games, or even if they're playing against each other or something.
Are we Neilston Wishaw?
You could do that again, hang about with these shed boys. Right up my street, man, right up my street.
Right, everybody, thanks for watching.
Cheers to
as usual, if you could like the episode and subscribe to the channel, it'll make a great difference to us. But hope you all have a good week. Cheers for watching.